The Pine Barrens of New Jersey have been inhabited for over 10,000 years, and with the many different peoples who've called this land home, many stories have emerged. Several campfire stories have come from the New Jersey Pine Barrens, with many cryptids and ghosts being said to lurk in the dark shadows of the woods. But one legend from these woods stands tall over the others, capturing the interest of people all over the world for hundreds of years on end. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, the series all things cryptids, and today, for the spooky season special of Cryptid Corner, we are going to look at the Jersey Devil. The Pine Barrens of New Jersey are a large, unique environment that kind of feels tailor-made for some supernatural entity to live in. The Pine Barrens are a massive woodlands, wetlands, and swamp environment that serves as the largest remaining pine barren on the east coast and taking up a large chunk of the southern half of New Jersey. 1.1 million acres of the Pine Barrens lies within the Pinelands National Reserve, which was the first natural reserve in the United States and is home to quite unique flora. The reason they are called the Pine Barrens is not because the pine forest is very, void of any life or anything. It's not barren of anything. The reason it's called that lies within its soil. Due to the Pine Barrens formation transitioning from an underwater coastal plain to above ground repeatedly over the years, the sandy soil of the Pine Barrens is highly acidic and struggles to hold water or nutrients. This makes it a struggle for conventional plants to find success in this region, including crops that were planted by the European settlers whose lack of successful harvests led to them calling it the Pine Barrens. But this land is far from being barren, as stated earlier, with unique plants and animal life thriving in the woodlands and swamps of the region. Forest fires are common occurrences in the Pine Barrens, which the pitch pines have not only evolved to survive from, but they actually rely on fires, as their cones will only fall if the tree detects a nearby fire. Other orchids and carnivorous plants have evolved to live in the nitrogen-lacking soil, giving the Pine Barrens a quite bizarre appearance. The Pine Barrens are also home to several animals, such as the white-tailed deer, coyotes, bald eagles, timber rattlesnakes, several owl species, black bears, bobcats on occasion, and the Pine Barrens tree frog, along with great blue and sandhill cranes during mating seasons. Native Americans have known of this land for a very long time, as the Lenape people and their ancestors have inhabited this land for about 10,000 years, and have maintained a tradition of controlled fires able to reduce underbrush, to improve farming conditions, and to just kind of clear the way. The European settlers of the region would utilize the wood of the pitch pines for ships and would also focus on glass making and iron production until the mid-1800s, when iron mining in Pennsylvania would put the iron industry of the Pine Barrens bogs out of business by 1869, with all iron processing facilities closing down. And with the collapse of the iron economy, other industries either suffered the same fate or were forced to downscale and leave, leaving several ghost towns scattered across the Pine Barrens. This, in combination with the long history and unique appearance of the Jersey Pine Barrens, has led to a rich amount of folklore with several stories, including the story of the Jersey Devil. According to the legends of the Pine Barrens, before English and European settlement, the land was referred to as Poptusing, meaning land of dragons, and when the Swedish and the Dutch settlers would set up shop, they would call it Drakkill, meaning something along the lines of Dragon River. In the 1680s, a Quaker by the name of Daniel Leeds would publish almanacs that contained many astrological symbols, which his fellow Quakers would deem as blasphemy and would often censor his works, if not outright destroying them. This would cause Leeds to further pursue the occult and look into Christian mysticism out of pure spite, but also out of personal fascination. and much to the disdain of his Quaker peers. Leeds would eventually turn his back on his Protestant peers after several censorship campaigns and would convert to Anglicanism, following the Church of England and directly working with Lord Cornbury, the British governor of New Jersey, who was much hated by the Quakers, causing the Quakers to outcast Leeds, claiming that he had made pacts with the devil. Titan Leeds, the son of Daniel, would continue his father's work, seeming moderate success and using the Leeds family crest, which would depict a dragon on it. Titan would even have to compete with none other than Benjamin Franklin and the at the time famous Poor Richard's Almanac. During their rivalry, Benjamin Franklin would jokingly predict the death of Leeds using astrology. This would piss off Titan given his family's backstory, labeling Franklin as a fool, but in response, Benjamin Gigachad Franklin would mock him even further, claiming that he had in fact died and that his ghost is haunting Franklin with his shitty responses and trash almanacs. Around this time in Leeds Point, New Jersey, the Leeds family lived as a seemingly normal family. For the time, with Mother Leeds having 12 children, which isn't too uncommon for the time, but that was still a ton of kids, even for the time. That being said, you can go ahead and insert your weak pull-out game jokes here. Mother Leeds would come to find that she was pregnant with a 13th child, and she would not be happy with this news, exclaiming, "Let it be the devil," words she probably wishes she took back. Some tellings of the story depict Mother Leeds as a witch, with her potentially having an affair with the devil himself. Gotta suck to be cheated on, for Satan. That's just gotta be the worst. Fast forward, and the baby would come to be born on a stormy night, as the child would seem just like any old baby. But suddenly, the baby would morph into a devilish form, with a strong kangaroo-like body, a horse's head with bovine horns and glowing red eyes, long arms that ended in claws, slender hooved legs, a long pointed tail ending in a sharp tip, and massive wings of a bat, letting out a terrifying shriek into the dead of the night. The devil child lashed at the party and escaped up the chimney, and from there, the legend of the Leeds Devil was born. It is said that anyone near the devil is doomed, as simply seeing, hearing, or being seen by the Jersey Devil will curse the victim with great misfortune. Several decades later, a series of sightings would begin in what we could consider the Leeds Devil era, with the first notable encounter allegedly coming from Commodore Stefan Decatur, or Decatur. Decatur would come to a mill in the Pine Barrens to inspect his cannonballs, which are being forged, where out of nowhere the Leeds Devil would appear before him. Being the absolute badass that he is, Decatur would fire a cannonball at the beast, striking its wing but seemingly having no effect, as the devil would fly into the night. Another sighting would come from none other than Joseph Bonaparte, the older brother of none other than Napoleon Bonaparte, who had a property in the Pine Barrens. While hunting on his land, Joseph would discover bizarre tracks, with him believing that they could only belong to a two-legged donkey. Tracking the donkey further, Joseph would hear hissing behind him, something I don't think donkeys do, and he would fall to the ground out of shock upon turning around. The devil stared him down and flew off into the night before he could collect himself and aim a rifle at him. Through the 1800s, more and more people in proximity to Leeds Point would report bizarre animal tracks, slain livestock, haunting shrieks in the dead of night, and sparse encounters with the devil. The legend would somewhat fall into obscurity at the time until 1909, when a massive wave of sightings would come in from all over South Jersey and Philadelphia that matched the Leeds Devil, with newspapers beginning to refer to the beast as the Jersey Devil, entering us into the Jersey Devil era. The name change was done to best affiliate the devil with the entirety of South New Jersey area and not just Leeds Point. Although some sightings were reported from Delaware to western Maryland and, of course, in parts of Pennsylvania. Even the Pennsylvania Zoo allegedly posted a $10,000 reward, leading to several hoaxes, including a poor kangaroo that had bat wings and claws glued to it. Poor little fella. In Camden, Pennsylvania, the case that started it all would involve the Jersey Devil attacking a trolley car, leading to police shooting at the devil, scaring it off into the night but not harming it. On July 27, 1937, a red eyed animal was reported in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, with the next morning's paper comparing it to the devil. In 1951, a group of boys in Gibbstown, New Jersey, would be reported as seeing an animal resembling the Jersey Devil. These two cases, keep note of the way I worded them, it'll be important later. Fast forward to the late 60s, and the Patterson-Gimlin footage of Bigfoot would spark a worldwide interest in cryptids, including none other than the Jersey Devil, putting us into what I'd consider the modern era, or the post-Gimlin era. Incredibly high interest into the devil would be a blessing and a curse, as although more people would be interested in this than ever before, countless hoaxes and missightings would stem from this era as well, potentially deterring some serious research into the area. But to this day, people still report encounters with the Jersey Devil in the dead of night, with people all alone in the vast New Jersey pine barrens wondering what nearly got them. The Jersey Devil is one of the most popular cryptids of all time, being put in the same pantheon as Bigfoot, Nessie, and Mothman. The Jersey Devil was one of the first cryptids I learned about growing up, and I have some very, well, probably not so fond memories of getting fooled by Jersey Devil sighting videos that seemingly still get uploaded to this day, so that's epic. This popularity gained through newspaper articles and cryptid hunters has led to several pop culture references, making cameos in several shows, movies, and games. The Jersey Devil is often covered in cryptid-based media, including a banger episode in Lost Tapes, and even has its own movies like The Lost Broadcast and 13th Child, Legend of the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil has become somewhat of a mascot for the Pine Barrens of South Jersey, serving as a point of local pride and international interest that drives tourists from all over to visit the small towns and to explore the Pine Barrens for themselves. Two hockey teams are also named after the Jersey Devil, with the Jersey Devils of the EHL and the New Jersey Devils of the NHL. The legend of the Jersey Devil is an extremely interesting one, being a sort of chimera-like devil who emerged from the house of the family entrenched with the occult and haunts the wilderness. But like the appearance of the devil, the New Jersey Devil itself is thought to be an amalgamation of several different legends. Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey are home to several lesser known legends, so it is already not too far fetched to believe that multiple stories got merged into one. When looking into the original Leeds Devil stories, there seems to be two different themes of dragons and of witchcraft and the occult. For starters, there is the area names that were supposedly there prior that implied something with dragons. Side note, I'm pretty sure these names are complete bullshit. I looked into Papu Sing for quite a bit and found absolutely nothing outside of mentions in articles talking about the Jersey Devil. So I went on to the Lenape Talking Dictionary and could not find any words lining up with it. In fact, I don't even think there is a word for dragon in that language. And the same could also be said with the whole Drakkill thing. I found no info on it, and when I popped it into Google Translator, I couldn't find anything on it. So, any Lenape, Dutch, or Swedish speaking viewers, feel free to fact check me, but to me, it just seems like this was completely made up. And the emphasis on the Leeds family crest having a dragon in it, supposedly tying it to the land to create the Jersey Devil. And, like, I mean, if you're gonna create a mammalian dragon, the Jersey Devil is as close as you're gonna get. Side note on the whole family crest thing, but I feel like if I had a family crest, I'd put a dragon on there too. I don't think that's too out of the normal to do. The occult origin is a little bit more interesting, as due to Daniel and Titan's almanacs and their poor reputation with the Quakers. Daniel being labeled as working with the devil is particularly interesting due to him working with Cornbury, who was a theological nemesis to the Protestants in the area. And Titan's frenemy feud with Benjamin Franklin can also be spun to take Franklin's claims as kind of serious. And I mean, he did kind of bring up the whole family past thing, but he did it in a humorous context. Side note, but when Titan actually did die, Benjamin Franklin would say, "Well, I'm glad that he can finally be at rest, and that those evil people interpreting him have finally stopped." Truly a based man. And so, with multiple local legends combined, we have a particularly interesting origin of the devil, but this is only the beginning. I didn't even mention the devil's true origin. You see, Mother Leeds' identity is often tied to the real-life Deborah Leeds, who lived in Leeds Point and was married to Japhet Leeds and did in fact have 12 children. But it is thought that Mother Leeds was somewhat of an amalgamation of several different people and stories made by the locals. You see, Daniel Leeds also had many children with his third wife, having up to 9 children, and his second wife and daughter both died during childbirth, which also could have inspired the version of the story where Mother Leeds dies after giving birth. So it's thought that along the way, these stories were kind of mishmashed to create the story of the Jersey Devil and Mother Leeds, a woman who sold out to the devil to give birth to one herself. The Jersey Devil story being over 200 years old and coming from the vast pine barrens and even states neighboring New Jersey, along with tons of media coverage, definitely gives room for multiple stories and cryptids to be mishmashed into one grandiose story, mixing elements from along these several lost stories. And I mean, it even kind of makes sense again with the appearance of the devil being multiple different animals. Many of the later sightings often feel like sightings of something completely different from the Jersey Devil, but the article writer or the investigator tries to tie in as many similarities to the Jersey Devil as possible, often twisting encounters to be with, seemingly unfamiliar animals or even other cryptid reports, and just saying, well, you saw the Jersey Devil. He saw something that looks like it, at least. And that drives more interest due to the devil's notoriety, so a journalist would definitely be inclined to do that. Jersey Devil encounters also are loosely tied to the phantom kangaroo phenomenon, which is a series of sightings of kangaroos in places that kangaroos don't normally live in. Like New Jersey. Some East Coast phantom kangaroo sightings are sometimes attributed to Jersey Devil sightings, due to the kangaroo being the closest match to the appearance of the Jersey Devil, minus the wings, of course. With some even theorizing that the Jersey Devil could have been a kangaroo, either escaping from a zoo or some unknown American species. But on the note of animal sightings, many have wondered if animal sightings have contributed to the Jersey Devil sighting, and I found quite a few. One very interesting theory around the Jersey Devil is that it is a hammerhead bat, a large bat native to Africa that was said to have escaped captivity in 1909. And although I said the kangaroo is the closest match to the devil, this one is a much better match. This thing looks like a little Jersey Devil. These dudes are insane. More down-to-earth theories attribute Jersey Devil sightings to animals in the region. The sandhill cranes and the great blue herons are one of the most likely candidates for the Jersey Devil, given their massive wingspans, slender legs, and bizarre noises that could catch anyone off guard in the middle of the night. Owls, such as the barred owl, eastern screech owls, and great horned owls, can also bear resemblance to some of the aspects of the Jersey Devil, with the wings, the noises at night, the horned appearance, and even the whole red eye things determining on the lighting conditions of the area. Deer and escaped horses could also fool a person if caught off guard, especially if it stands up on its rear legs, and perhaps out of embarrassment, they, no, it wasn't a horse. That horse had horns and wings and such. It was the Jersey Devil. It was no deer. I've seen plenty of deer. And more on the noises at night, frogs, foxes, and coyotes can create some pretty weird ass names and calls at night. And the detail of cattle being killed could easily be written off as coyotes, foxes, or even bears that are not uncommon in the Pine Barrens. A combination of all of these factors in combination with some good old-fashioned mass hysteria could easily give us the true story of how the Jersey Devil came to be through several different local influences. The story of the Jersey Devil is one of the most interesting pieces of colonial-era folklore and perhaps American folklore in general. The combination of the unique ecology of the Pine Barrens ecosystem, the abandoned remains of the old towns, the religious ideology of southern New Jersey, local gossip, and twists of generations of storytellers and journalists all came together to give us a story that only could have formed in the New Jersey Pine Barrens across hundreds of years of American history. I personally don't think that there is a Jersey Devil out there in the Pine Barrens. The legacy that this devil has left behind is more real than some demon horse could ever be. Many people write off implausible cryptids and supernatural entities like this, but I think these types of cryptids are very interesting as they're a glimpse into another corner of the world during a certain time, influenced by the circumstances and cultural views of the time. And even if you can't meet these entities in person or see them for yourself, they are more real than you could ever believe. And in that sense, the Jersey Devil will continue to terrorize those stranded in the New Jersey Pine Barrens in the dead of night and draw the gaze of thousands coming the next morning. And that's going to do it on the Jersey Devil video. Thank you all for watching and happy Halloween, because I thought that this was a really good story to talk about on Halloween. I mainly focus on smaller cryptids, but it's Halloween, it's spooky season. If I was going to cover a big cryptid like this is the time to do it. And, I figured this was one of, my favorite cryptids. It's right up there with like the Chupacabra and Mothman and all of that in terms of cryptids that I've always followed since a kid and all that. It's just, I think it's really cool, and it's a story that I wanted to cover today. Especially some of the other aspects of the story. Mainly, people just kind of start the story from, Mother Leeds and that, and they don't really hear about the prior stuff or the actual history of the Leeds family and the almanacs and all of that. But I think that adds so much context and so much implications of what the Jersey Devil is supposed to be that I felt it should have been included. So yeah, thank you for watching. And as I did note, there are other cryptids and ghost stories from the Pine Barrens, and that definitely will be a video in the future. I definitely do want to cover these lesser-known stories. That's the whole point of Cryptid Corner. I like covering the lesser-known stuff. Eventually, we are going to get to some, highly covered stuff, but I'd like to do that in more depth, kind of like this. But I'm not going to keep you much longer. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like it. Comment down below what you thought about it. What are your thoughts on the Jersey Devil? And what cryptids do you want to see on the channel? Also, don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell, and hype the video, because the hype feature is going to come out eventually, right? I'm not crazy. I believe I believe in cryptids. I'm not crazy. I can't be cryptid. But anyways, see you all. Thank you for watching, and have yourself a good one. Trick or treat.